Warning, everything in this video and on this channel is for educational purposes only. All content is intended for viewers 21 years of age or older. All acts are performed by professionals, and all people shown are 21 years of age or older. All acts are performed under the legal Chapter 67(8)(d) here in Nevada. Please do not attempt to recreate or reenact anything you see on this channel.
From Pigeons 420, Mr. Grow It. From the stack.
Thank you to AC Infinity for sponsoring today's video. Consider checking out the automatic water sprayer. It comes with a rechargeable sprayer with a 2200 milliamp power capacity. Supports up to 3 hours of continuous water diffusing. You can even modify the direction and spread of the spray with just a twist of the nozzle. Head on over to acinfinity.com, use promo code THESTASH15 and save a few dollars off at checkout.
This episode is brought to you by Stash Blend. I've been using Stash Blend for over a year now, and it's awesome. One of the things that I really like is that it saves me money. It's a whole bunch of different inputs in one. So I no longer have to go out there and buy a silica bottle, then a separate seaweed bottle, beneficial bacteria, then a separate one for mycorrhizal fungi. All of that plus more is in this one blend. Go to stashblend.com to learn more about it, and I also have a link down in the YouTube description section below.
What is up, boys? Welcome back.
Hey.
We're in Canada, boys. Woohoo!
Canadian boys.
Boom!
Canada.
Let's go,
It's
baby.
amazing.
Great to see you, gentlemen.
It's been a great series, guys. I've truly enjoyed the vibes, obviously the coop, the episodes, the content in general.
Amazing.
It's been a great one, man. Wink's been on with the ones
Killing
and twos, P's
it.
and Q's, maybe the best ever. He feels he's doing less than ever. It's because he's gotten better than ever.
It's because we've
That's how
dialed it
feels.
in.
Yep.
We've dialed it in. We've got the best lighting, the best mics, the best looks. Everything's just on point.
Hopefully there's no issues in this episode and you're watching this.
Right? They're like, we can't hear him. We can't hear
already,
him.
like Rob's voice had a lot of, was popping and snapping and cracking. That'd be great. Hopefully not, though, because, I mean, it's been a long time us doing this. Initially, we never thought about meeting in person. Did we even talk about it?
Not
Technically
originally.
It was Rona time, wasn't it? About
2021 is the first time we met. The
So,
end of
yeah,
2021.
Rona was in
Still
full
wearing
effect.
masks.
Yeah. Well, some people were.
Yep. Some people were.
People.
It was a different time back then, to say the least. And no, we never had a discussion about the three of us meeting up. It was all about just doing what everybody was kind of trying to do, and that was link up online, have a conversation, and it kind of turned into this. And then it was only within a few months, because we ended up going to the next MJ BizCon, which was
But that was just
really
22.
early. Yeah, which was like October.
It was in October, yeah.
If you think about it, though, it's like we just went there and didn't plan to make content. We did a photo shoot.
The very first time? Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
There was no, like, let's do our podcast in person. We did a live stream episode together. Shout out to Wink for making that work at the Rio, of all places. Jesus. We got to watch that one back sometime. We went live at Rio. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Yep.
That was bad, but we should watch it back.
Getting better and better over the years.
Well, our
and
lighting was
that's,
bad.
yeah, that's lots of improvements over the years. And
Yeah, people I think who've been on the journey maybe have seen this and know where it's come, how it started and how it's gotten to here. And we still do some episodes not in person because sometimes there's topics that are so important. We just want to bust these out. I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to take
I want to talk on it.
I'm not going to take
opinion.
3 months before I come see you guys, 2 months, So
No, there's lots going on in the community, and we want to stay up and see what's going down. And as a matter of fact, it's like people are always asking kind of what's going on, what we got growing, what's kind of our space, what are we thinking. And we got a Q&A today, boys, don't we?
we're bringing it back.
Q&A, yeah, very popular series. We don't do them enough. I think we should probably do them more often.
I think
Because
we
we
all
do
felt
get a lot of
burned out on
questions,
it.
and you get so many questions that sometimes it's hard to reply to everybody.
That's really what it is.
So why not consolidate them to kind of cherry pick the good questions and,
Subjectively.
subjectively.
And
things that we think are going to provide value for the audience.
That we haven't already talked about oftentimes. When it's questions that we'll get that I've already seen, and it's like, I want to answer it, but dude, not only have we answered this in a Q&A, but we also have had a whole episode dedicated to the topic. So go back and watch that episode because honestly, we're gonna break down these as almost like a flying by and getting just the surface of the activity. but enough that it'll maybe point you in the direction of the full in-depth detail, depending on the subject, because we do have videos on quite a bit of stuff, and on our individual channels. Collectively, what, we got like 1,000 videos?
I have like 600 alone.
That's what I'm saying. I'm at like 400 on CLtv.
Over 1,000. I don't know how many I have.
Maybe like 2,000
Yeah.
with From the Stash. Like 2,000 pieces of content.
I have
of
other
education.
channels too. With
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy, boys. Wow.
It is nuts. But real quick, just before we get into that, I want to say thanks to those that ask these questions from time to time. We give a shout out on our Twitter, X, and we ask
the
if there's
comment section on
some
YouTube.
questions. And for those that follow us on those platforms, thank you very much. Huge shout out to our patrons, always asking questions, always giving us some insight and helping support the show. Patreon.com/FromTheStash. If you want to follow us on Twitter, X, it's From the Stash Podcast, I believe, on Twitter, I think. And Instagram, it's From the Stash. Make sure you come and follow that.
I have no idea
And
what it is.
as Rob said in the comment section, when you guys ask questions, we are always looking for insight. And pretty much at the end of every episode, we typically ask, what do you think in regards to the topic at hand? And you respond. So thank you guys for that. We really
Within
appreciate
the first
that.
48 hours, I'd say we're all looking at the comment section. After that, we are pretty busy. So it's not like we're constantly looking. But if you're within the first 24 to 48 hours commenting, like, clearly don't be a douche. But we're looking at you. We're checking it out.
We see it.
Much love. Most times that first like you get, that's us. So, yeah. Or Chris.
Get into some
sure.
questions. What do you
Sure,
guys think? Yeah, let's start with questions. I got pulling it up here on my phone for those listening in. For those watching, I'm not just rudely texting or anything like that. I'm actually looking for questions. Of course, it drops off the screen once I get back into X. It immediately drops off the screen when I had it on the screen before I closed up my phone. So
It's tough
digging
when
back
that-
into it, but I got it right here, right now. First one is on foxtailing. This is something that we haven't dug too deep into. And he gives a little bit of background on his scenario. So this is what he says. I have a real issue with foxtailing. As of late, my temps stay at 82 degrees Fahrenheit, humidity at 35 to 45% in flower, and I have 3 rotating fans going. It's happened to me 4 different strains now, but not with every strain I've grown, even when I grow multiple strains at once under the same light. Can over-ripening cause foxtailing, or is it just heat and light? The genetics do not have foxtail characteristics naturally either. I think that's a good one. I can speak upon
good.
foxtailing
That
to
is a
begin,
good
and I'll kick
question.
it off to you guys.
Kick it off, Chris. Kick it off, Chris.
So, yeah, I'm glad you brought not only up heat, but light as well. So heat is, I think, is the most commonly known, right? High
Number one.
heat it can definitely cause foxtailing, particularly in flowering, late flowering. Light, a lot of people don't really know that the actual spectrum, particularly in IR, in excess of that can cause foxtailing. A great example of that is the Green Sunshine Company ES300V1. He had 7% IR, if I remember correctly, in that. So the balance of the different light, 7% IR, which is arguably too high.
Yeah, that's
And almost
really
every
high.
single one of the strains that I ran foxtailed with it. And after doing the research and talking with Dan over there, now I know that company no longer exists.
Rest in peace.
Shout out
Good crew.
to them. They didn't survive through it all. But it was a good light. He lowered it after that, so they had the V2 generation, V3 generation, and he lowered it down from 7 to 5%. So from my understanding, it's mostly just having that high amount of IR past, I think it's 730 nanometers, 750 nanometers, up in that range. Too much of that can induce foxtailing. So it's not just the heat, but also the lights. It could be the genetics. Some genetics just naturally foxtail. And then he asked us if over-ripening is a thing. Yeah, I mean, if the plant's still growing, you kind of force it. You may get a foxtail here and there. I wouldn't say that the whole plant, the whole flower would foxtail in all directions on all sides of it. You might get a one here and there if you're over-ripening it, but in my experience, it's not like a full-blown foxtail.
Only time I've ever seen anything like that is when people are using shooting powder from House and Garden. That would every time would add knuckly little additional shoots on top of the buds, and they'd always be a little bit slightly foxtaily looking because of it. It looks like you're getting gang signs thrown up at you. So, or a little weird baby hand. I don't love that look of flower, and if you are potentially using that, maybe that could be the culprit of it. I had a buddy he swore by it, and it was great nutrients. It did great for him, but he used every bit of their products, and the shooting powder always, every single time, his stuff looked foxtaily. Always. We had everything the same besides that. And I used House and Garden for a couple years, and when I did try shooting powder, I ran into the same thing. It did increase my yield. I had more buds, I did, but they were ugly. And at the time, bag appeal was still a thing. So
Yeah, I can't add anything. You guys did a great job on that. What I do want to mention, though, is that there's a lot of old timers out there that recommend or personally prefer waiting until there are foxtails on the buds before harvest. It's not done
it's like they're exploding and they're ready to
until
go.
it's foxtailing. And I have personally have no experience in it. I believe it's a little late if you're in terms of an over ripening. I think if you're seeing foxtails, I think it's a little late. But I know a lot of people that say, nope, it's not done until it's foxtailing. So maybe if you're looking for a more degraded cannabinoid,
Potentially
then
the
maybe
couch locky, sedative.
Just want to let that be known. It's not horrible to some.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's not that there's anything wrong with it per se. Does it look as good as rounded pretty bud? No, but then also you see people who say rounded pretty bud has PGRs in it. Like, that's PGR bud. It's like, no, it's just dense rounded bud. It's genetics. It's morphology of the plant. Get over it.
Yo. Moving on with the questions. This one is a bit controversial. I'm going to boot this over to you guys. Discuss a bit about the ash color thing.
You white ashy Larry so Mitch.
First of all, what does he mean by that?
White ash. So those of us who consume the dubs or the blunts, the D's or the B's, oftentimes it's a controversial topic, but your bud is not good unless it has white ash. The ash has to be white or it's bad. You ever heard of that?
Oh, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. And most consumers will tell you that exact same thing. If it's white, it's good. If it's black, it's not. And quite frankly, I'm not. You guys can speak more in terms of maybe the blackness and why it's turning black. I know that it's widely attributed to not flushing your product correctly. The argument is that if it's black, that means you didn't flush it. It's full of nutrients, and it's burning those nutrients. For me, I'll tell you right now, as a home grower, I've harvested. I'm not even going to try to guess the number at this point. I have flushed and not flushed. None of my stuff has ever been black. It's been white. So if you guys want to speak on why it may burn black, I can say that flushing A or B, it's still white.
I'm convinced it's the drying and curing. So if your bud is not that dry and it's moist and maybe it's a lot of chlorophyll in there, it's not going to burn as good. Period. End of discussion. Mic drop. That's it.
I've never really dug too deep into the white ash, black ash thing. I had Brandon Hutz on my podcast recently. He said something that was kind of funny. It's like, you don't cook a meal in the kitchen and see a nice, delicious meal, eat it, take a dump, and then look at the dump and say, that wasn't a quality meal because of the color.
Yeah, my Dookie did
Once he
not
said
look.
that, I just laughed.
You don't do that.
But maybe you go and you say this is a little more solid versus this. That may be, I'm just saying it may be some to the waste to the byproduct that is to that. But I have heard people say
spray out of the bottom of my. I'm just curious.
that means it was a good meal.
Was that a good meal or a bad meal?
But that's I think the argument that I've heard, and I've seen maybe a little bit of, but it's still controversial because I know the people didn't dry and cure as much, is there being more chlorophyll in the plant, which can come from being fed with more nitrogen. So maybe there's some validity to the nutrient side of things, but in my experience, in my opinion, I think it's primarily the drying and curing, and even dry, even cure. Because I've had bud that was old as hell, and I pulled it early and I didn't flush it. It was so old I just forgot it existed, and it was dry as it gets, and it immediately turned into white ash because there was nothing to it.
Yeah, I believe it has something to do with a quick dry myself. In particular, I believe it's a quick dry because it might have to do with the fact that there's still a ton of stored chlorophyll in particular.
More like borophyll.
But again, I can only apply my limited knowledge to this one.
Well, and this is tough too because if, let's say, it's very resiny and you put it in a bowl, or you've got, I know from anybody else who's put rosin on top of a bowl and smoked it, sometimes, or shatter even more, it turns into a ball.
A little black ball.
Yeah, and it just
Yep,
locks up
you're right.
there. So
I've seen
is it
that.
maybe the fact that it's an abundance of trichomes and that the oil, the cannabinoids in the oil make it hard for it to actually fully turn to ash, to full burn?
Not a full burn.
You
not
know,
a full
this is
burn.
all theory in this
Yeah.
sense. This is
That
all
actually, I would be
neuroscience.
far more willing to believe that.
It kind of sounds that way.
That it's the
and
burn.
It's the burn isn't an even burn,
But,
you know?
Cool. I'd be curious to know, and if anyone has any insight to this.
Comments. Let
Comments,
us
yeah,
know.
let us know.
we
If
got?
a lot of this is.
What do you prefer,
just our
black
opinion
ash or
on these,
white
yeah.
ash? Let us know.
You got a preference? I like mine mixed.
Moving right along with the questions. There are some personal questions in here as well. I think I dumped this in here so people get to know
Uh-oh.
us a little bit
Rob,
better.
how much can you bench?
This one asks, what did you guys do for
250.
work before content creation?
3,000 pounds.
What did you guys do for work before
I was an
content
escort.
creation? Escort.
No.
I knew it.
I ran an agency, my own agency. It did marketing work for people. So I did like videos. I did music videos, was another side thing with that, and made beats. But the primary income was website design and social media advertising, graphics. Self-taught. I went to school, but it was a ripoff, so I quit doing it. I quit school, college dropout, and then worked for a company called M Live that hustled me. And then I realized only going to this networking, this BNI thing, like I talked about before in another episode, I'm in there for M Live, and this dude there who's a client of theirs is like, man, dude, you're the guy who came in, or you killed those pictures on the website, dude. It was great, man. I was like, hell yeah, dude, appreciate it. He was like, $30,000 well spent. I was like, $30,000 well spent. I got $300 a week, brother. Like $30,000 well spent. What? They paid what? So then I ended up, I had a non-compete clause with them, so I couldn't go and steal this guy. But I got a bunch of references from him, and then I was like, dude, if I get 2 clients that pay me $3,000 a month even, I am making way more money than I did at this shitty job that's taking all the credit for all my work. So that transitioned me into that, and then eventually it pushed me towards this niche because I wanted to teach my clients content marketing, and I was working on this side project, and I was like, check out what we're doing, or what one of my clients is doing here, and it had Trey on there, so it wasn't me. And they're like, wow, this is awesome. Like, you know, what about CBD? And it started like breaking open the thing where I'm like, dude, this is actually my channel. Like, you smoke? I was like, yeah. I was like, you know, you've been stoned and successful. And then it kind of made me think of this brand, the Stoned and Successful side. I was like, oh man, these people had no idea that I was out here really hustling and making it happen. And I'm this young dude compared to them, and I am baked. I came in here 3 blunts deep, you know, in a hash pen on the way here to the meeting, wearing a little suit, looking all cool. And yeah, slowly but surely morphed into CLtv.
That is wicked. That's a pretty awesome story. I like that. You have a pretty wicked backstory as well. Like,
Yeah, you wanna go
pretty
first?
impressive. No, you go.
You want me to go first?
You go first. You go first. You go first.
You
You go first. You go first.
People
right.
think that the song's this shit's skipping.
He's like, what's going on here? It's good.
Oh my god! I worked at Amazon. A lot of people know this. I've spoken about it several times in the past episodes and stuff like that.
Delivery driver?
No, started as a picker packer shipper in the fulfillment center in Nashua, New Hampshire.
Damn.
And started as a temp associate, got hired on full time, worked my way up to assistant manager, then an actual area manager in their fulfillment center. I got transferred from Nashua to open up a brand new facility in Allentown, Pennsylvania, 1.5 million square feet. They had like 5,000 people that were there. I was one of 25 people that actually knew what the heck was going on. Everybody else was brand new, so it was a complete nightmare for that year and a half that I was there. Then I got transferred to Las Vegas at one of the return centers. Continued to be an area manager there, but then transferred over to the corporate side of things a little bit. I worked at closely with their Seattle operations, their corporate area. They have a big corporate area in Seattle, headquarters really. And I was doing kind of their warehouse deals. I think they call it open box now, but when like somebody returns an item, they'll grade it. Amazon, the process is grading it and then putting it back on the shelf at a reduced price. So I was in control of that. I would travel to different countries. I mean, I was in Poland, Scotland,
teaching these folks how to do this new process. And I got burnt out after 8 years. And I was like,
No kidding.
tired
Holy
of working
shit,
10,
One
12,
of 25
I didn't know
people.
any of this.
10,
I knew
12,
you worked for Amazon.
15 hours a day sometimes working. I would
corporate
often go
life, too.
home and take my laptop and open it back up after I get home and work till bed, you know what I mean? And then wake up and anyways. Before that, I was in real estate for a year and a half, the worst possible time to do it, 2008. So I was in and out of there in a year and a half, sold one house, one rental. And then before that, I did 3 years as a sales associate for Nextel and Sprint.
Where you at?
Yeah. So I was one of those guys at the mall kiosks.
Oh no, I hated
And,
you.
dude, I was like,
you got want a phone, free phone. All you gotta
Yep.
do is sign you and your family up for 10 years.
oh man, they trained me some unethical ways, like grab people's phone, be like, come here, let me show you the new ones. And like, oh dude, it was.
Did you use an accent? You're like, come here.
Yeah,
Like,
I
did you-
would. Fun times. We would mess around like that. It was actually kind of fun approaching people and just messing around the whole time. But that we had a couple different kiosks at a few different malls, and I was like 18, 19 at the time. So I was thrilled because this kiosk was on one side there was an Express, and on the other side there was an Abercrombie. So I just had cute girls just around me all the time. I was able to approach
brother.
cute, you know what I mean?
And
I was,
you're
I was in my
18?
prime, 18, 19, 20 years
mobbing around on
old.
this- oh, dude.
Yeah, and then before that, when I was like 14, my teenage years before that, I was landscaping. So I was mostly just landscaping. I loved that. Really loved being outside working,
Damn, I didn't
working
know
on
we were
lawns
getting
and
deep into
stuff.
that.
And
All my shit's embarrassing if you pass the last thing I said.
Yeah, right. I know. That's why I didn't want to go. You guys have great stories.
Dude, you've been a us. I had no idea how deep the Amazon stuff was because
Oh,
I always
Brutal.
wondered.
He's totally shared
told,
that
well,
with
he's
us.
told us, but not as deep as how he
No,
got
but he
moved
just didn't know.
around. So I thought you got moved from the East Coast to Las Vegas and then loved it and never left. But I didn't realize the journey to get there. Because I always I'm so blown away when you go back far east, and I'm like, how the hell did you transplant yourself with no family out here? But you already were being moved around by yourself, technically, so much that you were hardened to do this. It's like Dakota moving from Canada to Colombia. I'm like, what the heck? But he already
It's a
went to
long way to
Thailand.
go.
Like he went to all these other places, so it made him ready for the journey to do that kind of stuff. That's cool.
Stepping into it with no, it
cool
would be
as hell,
scary.
I almost got canned
Be
one time.
scary.
Let me tell you this real quick. I'll try to make it a 30-second story. At Amazon, with that fulfillment center that's 1.5 million square feet, picture a rectangle on, and the building is split into three. And so there would be mods where you pick the items on both sides and everything would flow into the middle of the building. Well, I was in control of making sure things flowed from the dock doors up into the pick mods. Okay, so totes would come in, and one time we received items on one side of the building and we had space to stow them on the other side of the building. So I transferred all these totes across the entire building, completely jammed up their conveyor system because it was brand new to all of us. The building was at a standstill because of me. The
embarrassment
outbound
anxiety
operation,
of
we're
that.
trying to ship hundreds of thousands of packages. We're at a standstill.
Complete
I almost got
moving.
canned, dude. I thought I was getting fired for that. We had to
that's
shut,
wild.
and I remember it was Call of Duty release dates, so we had pallets of Call of Duty, and like people were
That's
getting their
why he
games.
doesn't play
and stuff.
games.
That's why I didn't get my package.
And this is probably why he won't play. He's like scarred. He looks at
He
things.
just look at the game. He just twitches.
Call of
Like,
Duty.
Man, well, I'm glad. See, I'm glad I went last because mine wasn't nearly as fun. I'm not very smart. So I was in labor force, man. I was trying to get myself through school. I went to university. I graduated university, and I was roofing, man. I spent a lot of time roofing, commercial roofing, spending a lot of time on like really tall buildings and stuff, and putting roofs on top of them. And then after that, I worked for a family and a young fella in a wheelchair who had skeletal dystrophy, and I was pretty much his right-hand man, made sure that he got to university and back, and then I really learned a lot about the world in regards to how inaccessible our world is to people who don't have two operable legs.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of stairs, the amount of small hallways, the lack of parking, it is a really tough life out there if you're in a wheelchair.
Dude,
Like, and I don't mean like a wheelchair where you just park it up, you get
No,
out
but
of
like
it,
one that
and
you're
you
in
move.
for
Yeah,
life.
yeah. He's controlling it with his hand. Couldn't move more than just his hand to keep him going. And yeah, and you look at the world and you're just like, holy man.
Shout out to him, man. That's
So
a tough
yeah,
fella to
it
do
is.
that.
So
To do
I
that.
felt like an obligation to be like his bouncer. So when we would hit places where it's like things wouldn't happen, it was like, I'm getting you through this, bro, and we're getting through it together.
I could only imagine. Like, no.
No.
Come
I'm
on,
not
let's
settling.
go.
Yep.
Nope.
Let's
move.
Yeah. Oh man, you had to. You had to. Yep.
Pigeons as pigeons today. I could imagine pigeons as pigeons then, with less of a care given to somebody running their mouth. You'd be like, oh yeah.
Yeah. The amount of times you'd be like in a hallway and stuff, and you'd be held up by people just talking. Yeah. And here's a dude in a wheelchair, and I'm somewhat in front of him, off to his right, and they'd look at you, and they'd keep talking because no one else is moving, and it's like they didn't want to be the guy to shut up their friend, and to say excuse me. So I would, and I'd be like, excuse me.
Okay, can you shut your mouth, please, and move?
We're coming through here. He wouldn't skip a beat. He was coming. I would make sure it was out of the way. It was a
Pretty
mission.
much his lineman.
Oh, you have to. Oh, you had to. It was a great job. They were a beautiful family. They take good care of me. And it was COVID that ended that job because he unfortunately had a compromised immune system and couldn't work with him. And so, yeah, shout out to Jay. He was a good guy.
Man, and that's right before he was bit by the bird and turned into Pigeons.
Yeah, Tobey Maguire got bit by a spider.
Yeah.
Me must have been a bird.
Yeah, it must have been a bird. Bars, son. Bars.
Thank you.
All right, back to gardening questions. This one, pH managing for worm casting teas. Not really a question. I think maybe what he's trying to ask is, do you need to pH your worm casting teas?
That's a great question.
I've never considered that ever, because usually you have a buffer in your soil if you're using worm castings. So it's crazy how many people I know who grow organic who are always just like pH, like of my water, alkaline, like to drink. It's like, you want to stay alkaline for sure, and I'm like, no, I mean, for plants. Like, it's not even usually a conversation. I don't know. That's the first I've even heard that one.
Yeah, I mean, you have to figure out what's the water source to begin, what's the pH to begin. When you're putting the worm castings in there and brewing the tea, is it being different from before the brew to after the brew, right? A lot of people, don't. I don't know anybody who really does, because you've got the beneficials in there. If you're adding in an acid, for example, say you're raising up your pH to 7, if you're putting an acid in there, arguably you're killing off some of those beneficial microbes. Now, it's not wiping out the whole population. And I think that's a big misconception. Is people like, don't pH your teas at all. You're killing off all the microbes. Not all of them. You're telling me a couple drops is killing off into all the microbes in that? No,
You'd have to make it unbelievably acidic to do that.
Yeah,
kill your plant at that point.
But if your pH raises up a little bit, you're not going to need, like, I don't pH. I don't know anybody who does pH their teas after brewing.
No, and that's a good point too. Is it's like, if you're using a tea, you're not usually going into a media where you would need to pH it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the key thing. It'd be like asking if you want a pH after adding advanced nutrients, a pH perfect advanced nutrients. It's like, well, no one's really looking at that because it says pH perfect. It's not a part of your step. So yeah, it's a good question to ask if you're new into it because you're not sure.
Got anything, P?
It's like, worms I use for fishing, brother.
Yeah, love worms, bro. No, I got nothing.
Okay. Next one up would be, let's see, with organic grows, how much bloom booster do you feed in, if any?
Bloom booster. Oh, I have used Build a Bloom going into flower, if you consider that a bloom booster. But for me, I would just be, I guess if you're increasing your potassium and phosphorus would be your only thing, but it wouldn't be a bloom booster per se for organic. I don't know. Are we talking organic super soil or are we talking organic bottles?
Yeah, that's a good point. Good question there, right? So
I never thought of. These are questions that I haven't thought about with organic, and you're throwing me for a loop.
Throwing them for a loop here,
What about
so
you?
for me, when I'm growing organic, I'm mostly just doing the all-in-ones.
Yeah.
Craft Blend, Build a Soil Craft Blend. It's got everything you need for flower as well.
The build a flower.
Build a
bloom.
build a
bloom. Build a flower.
Build a flower.
Let me
Build a
hold
bloom.
on. Hold on.
We gotta look it up. But yes,
you
I
got
did.
a discount code.
I have used that as well, and I particularly in flowering. And yeah, maybe they do consider it. Maybe you can consider that a bloom booster because you are changing the nutrition to focus on flower production. So yeah, I've used that in the past. I haven't used really anything else really to targeting because those all-in-ones have everything. Another one notable mention instead of Craft Blend, an alternative would be Kiss Organics Nutrient Pack. You guys heard me talk about that a handful of times. I've been using that for the past 2 or 3 years now. excellent results. Really, really good results. Shout out to Dad Hussey. He's doing some great things, not just with organic amendments, but also soils. He has like water-only soils and stuff like that. So really good stuff.
So I think with the biggest thing you're looking at already, we were saying phosphorus and potassium being the boost you're trying to add into this point. With the build a flower, if you have anything that's going to have like a kelp meal or something, a high phosphorus additive, this Diamond KAG gypsum and high phosphorus organic rice bran are the two things that are really adding into what they're using. So you don't necessarily need to get another mix. You can get these two individual items and just increase your P and your K.
Okay, so those two items were potassium and phosphorus?
Yep.
Oh, sweet.
So
sweet.
those are just the particular sources that you're getting them from.
And sorry, what was the second one?
Well, the kelp was the additional side. One was a rice bran and one was a gypsum.
And a gypsum. Cool.
So it's like
a gypsum or
AGAS gypsum?
Gypsum, not like a gypsum salt. Like a gypsum.
Gypsum, not a gypsum.
Just
gypsum.
okay. That's where I was confused. That's fine. Anytime you're trying to boost put phosphorus and potassium in your grow, sounds great to me.
Yeah.
So
this is later in the flower too. So
let her buck, man.
And you don't have to do it either, because I have done multiple times with just the regular blend.
Stash Blend will do that for you as well, because we do have some potassium and phosphorus.
A little bit of one, a
well.
little bit of five.
Yep.
Something better than nothing.
Moving on with the questions, we've got next one.
Great questions.
What is the most drought tolerant strain?
Ooh.
We got some good questions this time around, right?
This is a really good one.
I'll answer it first.
Go answer it.
I'll answer it. My answer isn't one you're going to probably like, but there are tens of thousands of strains out there. It's impossible for us to really know all these strains in detail. And for me, give you a recommendation on what's the best drought tolerant strain.
At least
right?
half of it.
It's not something I really, I've grown hundreds of different strains now, and I don't really look to see, this one's more drought tolerant than this one. I don't really observe that at any level, to be honest with you. I don't know if you guys do.
We don't do stress tests for fun. and we're very fortunate that we've been growing long enough that we know optimum watering levels. If you're looking for something that can withstand that, you want a very resilient strain. You just want a genetic that's going to be able to be in a large container. There's no simple one genetic that can handle their roots drying out and the media drying out. But what can work is putting your plant into a larger container. This is why my plants die when I come to Canada, because I forget to transplant in large containers. So someone has to water my plants every day, and I didn't do any of the things I planned on doing to transplant. I couldn't have any genetic that could deal with being in a solo cup and while I'm gone for 7 days. I just think that you need to put it in a larger container. The single genetic that's going to handle it is something that may be originating in a desert climate, but I don't see anything being drought resistant, unless the drought resistance is hermaphroditic traits you're trying to avoid, and we're talking that, then you just want strong genetics.
Yeah, what are they trying to do? Are they trying to do drybacks? Because a lot of strains can, withstand.
Strain.
Yeah, right,
Every
exactly,
strain.
right. So drought tolerant. I mean, when the medium completely dries out, all these plants are going to act the same. They're going to be stunted.
Be in not dying right away. He or she must have had something die or herm out.
Let's assume that they're actually asking this question from a climate that's very dry. Let's assume that we have an Egyptian audience.
Yeah, so what's
or
one that
an
can deal with a dry climate?
East Indian
that
audience.
May be a better.
So we know that there are a large number of land races that originated in the Middle East. You've got Afghani strains. That would be my very first jump to conclusion with anyone with an Afghan in it would surely, to my limited knowledge, have to be a slightly more resistant, drought resistance than, say, like an Acapulco Gold, which is coming from the South America. It was just a lot more moist down there. So you got to also think too, or I would also think too, what is existence without function without purpose. So what is it that makes plants take in moisture? It's their root system. What would make a root system take in more water in a lower environmental system area? More roots, more hairs, more going on below the soil. Maybe compare that with something else. Maybe the root system of something from a little farther south won't be as, say, extravagant or as broad or as prominent as those. So that's my approach.
I don't want to sound ignorant when I say it, so I'm looking it up.
Okay, good idea.
In Israel.
I ain't looking up none. I just make it up. It's philosophical for me.
So my uncle lived in Israel, and he grew in his bathroom. You know what I'm saying? Chris lives in Vegas, and he grows in his house. And I don't know, man. I don't think that's ever been a thought I've had. I think it's about what you do with your media to maintain your media.
I totally understand your point. I totally get it, and I agree with you.
I just think that
don't make dry conditions.
Pot.
We're in a tent.
Yeah, put it in a bigger pot.
Yes. But maybe they're outside. Maybe you're outside.
But it's
maybe
still in
you
a bigger
can't grow
pot
in a
outside.
tent. Maybe you're
But that's why they're 100-gallon pots for a lot of these cats outside.
Now
you know what I'm
also
saying?
you could have the moist. This is a question. You can have the moistest pot, but what if the air is extraordinarily dry?
Ooh, that may be what he's saying. What can handle the lowest humidity without it stressing out? And again, VPD is VPD, not per genetic. It's VPD.
So that might have an impact. So I guess that's a really good question. I'm glad we could dive
That's
into
where it's
that.
how to grow within a drought climate. You know what I'm saying? That's almost where the question should have gone, but I think we kind of gave you some answers that may help in that sense still.
I think we did good.
Yeah. I think we did good.
I think we did good. Well done, boys. That was a good one.
I think we did
we did good.
We did good. I think we're great.
I agree. You look wonderful.
Thank you. So yeah,
I got a cool one here.
You got another one?
Yeah.
All
This
right, let's do Uno Mas and save them
one.
for episode 12. Or
These are great.
Q&A
We'll have to do
12.
another
I wanna
episode.
do
These are
13.
great.
Hey, I
really
enjoy
good.
these. I like these.
Go ahead.
It's a fun one to end off on. If you were baked and you had access to any cereal, which one would you choose?
Captain Crunch.
Cinnamon
without a
Toast
doubt.
Crunch.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch. There we go.
My guy.
Cinnamon
I got
Toast
it. I
Crunch.
eat it also so often. I guess it is the most common one I eat.
Which one did you say?
Captain Crunch.
Captain
Because
Crunch.
I just branched
But
out
what
from
Captain
cinnamon
Crunch?
toast.
Berry or
Oats, all berries.
No,
Regular?
we just Captain Crunch with
So
nothing in
regs.
it, just regular Captain Crunch. Yep.
Who bought us the mini wheats?
I don't think anyone bought mini wheats.
Those are
Mini-
Kevin's
a
milk.
box
I think
of
those are
mini
Kevin's.
wheats at the
I know. I think those are
Airbnb.
Kevin's.
Mini wheats. Okay.
Those are
I
Kevin's.
was gonna say if that was someone's first
no.
choice for cereal for us to pull a bunch of stoners, to pull up, like we got you guys almond milk,
Frosted and some-
frosted mini wheats and chia seeds.
Guys, thank you
I
so
want to
much.
know in the comments what's your favorite cereal?
We're gonna get a variety.
Also, honorable mention would be Fruity Pebbles and Cocoa Pebbles.
Very good.
Yeah, honorable
Very
mention.
good.
For sure.
I keep pretty much keep that thing on me. We always have a family box of Fruity Pebbles in my house. My kids fuck with it hard.
I can eat a whole box in one sitting. dude.
100%.
You know?
can't-
How
that's
do do
you.
that?
Boys.
That's where my sugar intake comes is these French vanilla caps and
I eat out of the top of a thermos cup. And I just take it off and I just fill it
Or
with
they're like,
cereal.
"Oh, did you get soup?" You're like, "Nope, cereal."
You don't get those little boxes you cut open the middle and you peel them open and you just fill them with water?
we got those in
Or with
Juvie.
water. With milk.
You get water. That's poverty.
It's a little weird, boys.
But
Great,
speaking of
Epi. Thank you
poverty,
guys so much for the
keep us out of
quality.
that.
We got the quality questions there for the. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We got some good questions.
Really
Put some
good
questions
questions.
in the
Good
comments for the
questions.
next episode, or at least an episode in the future. Maybe we'll answer your question a year from now if we do one a year from now or what.
Yeah.
But put it down there. Maybe it'll get answered in the future. Thank you so much for your support. Shout out to the Patreons.
That's who I was looking at down here. You guys, I gave you a pre.
Check out the different tiers, patreon.com/fromthestash. You can get your name on the bottom of the screen. Want a special thanks to you folks there. And stashmerch.com. We got some
Stashmerch.com.
great designs. You guys have been killing it with the sales.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you so much.
Much love.
That's super, super helpful. Directly helps us.
Yeah, and make sure you check out FromTheStash.com for everything from the stash. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time. I'm Rob from CLtv. That's Mr. Grow It. That's Pigeons 420. We're from the stash. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.